Well, what we got today? Well, we've got something that I've been a sort of fan of for a very long time. Not the specific one, but in general. And it goes back to about, well, in 1968, I left school. Yeah. You know, as you do. And just before I left school, they had that leaving party thing. They call it other things in different places of the world. But anyway, they had the leaving party. And I can always remember the track that was on there as I was leaving school, because I'd been a massive fan of the Beatles. Well, at sort of 14, 15. You are, aren't you? Aren't you? No. Okay. Well, in them days you were. And I can always remember the track. I think I remember it as, yeah, We Can Work It Out. Yeah, that was the track. It was there. And then I left. And then, yeah, one day I turns this radio on, as you do. You listen to the radio. And there it was. Yeah. A Uni-Vibe being played by Hendrix. I didn't know what had hit me. It was like listening to Malmsteen for the first time in the early 80s. It was, well, basically life-changing. Yeah, there he was, Jimi Hendrix. And that's what this is about. There it is, a 69 vibe. Well, by the time I'd left school and the rest of it, it's only a few months, and you're in 69, aren't you? Yeah. No, not that sort of 69. This sort of 69. Yeah, 69 vibe. From Behringer, of all people. Behringer. Well, some of these Uni-Vibes can cost an awful lot of money. Yeah, one of the ones I favoured, or favoured at the time, was this one. A lot of guys have seen that, haven't you? Surely you must have. It's one of those Uni-Vibes from, who was it from? I think it's a Dunlop, this one. It hasn't actually got the company's name on it. I'd put a sticker on the back saying an old Dunlop. And what this one was great for is it used the technology inside like the original. I think it's an Shin-Ei or something like that, the original that Hendrix used. Go and get one of them today. Get you thousands of pounds out, or dollars. So a lot of people will fall back to these sort of devices. Now, this one was stopped being made, it's reputed, because it cost more to make than they sold it for. And I can believe that. It's a really well-made device. Let's put it down there for now. This one is scarily purported to cost £60 or thereabout, somewhere in that region. And if we take a look at it, let's pull it out the box now. You get the usual rubbish, you get the bits and pieces, but here it is. And you know what? Right from the off, it's actually solid. It's really metal and well made. Yeah. So what I want to do, what I propose, is we get this rubbish out the way. Let's go down close. Let's take a look at it. And we'll probably have a quick look inside as well, because that matters on these things. Because there's modern, cheaper equivalents and older, original equivalents, if you get me. And they do sound a little bit different because they operate different. Yeah. So this one should be quite interesting. That people tell me, oh, Tony, you want one of these? So I'll put it on order for you, so you can see it yourself. And as a Uni-Vibe, I have already tried it, by the way. It's pretty awesome. But let's get closer. Well, there it is. I mean, what more can you say? It even looks the part, but it's actually metal. Yeah, it's all the stuff that you might think it is. It's got the usual things on it. It's got a volume, it's got an intensity, and a speed. And that's pretty much like the Dunlop one. And I guess it's pretty much like the original as well. El Shin-Ei or something, whatever it's called. I'll never get that right. Yeah, so you've got a chorus and a vibrato, which again is the same as the original, and you've got the effect off and on. That's the top. And there we go, basically. You've got the instrument in, we've got an output, we've got a foot control, which is like it's almost like a volume pedal or a you know, something like that, where it can control the amount of the effect, if you will, or the intensity, or whatever it is that it controls. I haven't read the instructions, so I don't really care. It makes a little difference. It has a DC 9 volt in, by the way, 9 volt, and the outside part is positive, so you can use the old Boss Roland, you know, power supply, which I think is pretty good. There it is in the corner, 69 vibe, Behringer. What more can you ask for? Well, you can ask for a lot, depending on what's inside. So what I'm going to do is whip the lid off so we can have a quick look inside at the quality, because Behringer, you know, let's face it, it's about as budget as you can get. But it's sort of £60, including 20% tax. I would say, let's hope there's something inside. Yeah, hold on. Well, here's a real quick look at the back of the PCB. You can see that it's exceedingly well made, I have to say. That it really is, well, it's up there with all of the other sort of stuff that I've seen from many other brands. And yeah, very nice indeed. I'm going to try and remove this board so we can have a look at the other side to see what's going on. Okay, well, here we are around the other side of the board. I've managed to get it out easy enough. And it's pretty, well, it's pretty high quality. That's quite surprising for the, you know, the actual cost of the device. I mean, £60 including 20% tax, so that probably makes it about £45. Then you've got to have margin in it, shipping in it, the rest, the development, and all the other stuff that goes with it. I mean, it adds up to being a veritable bargain, really. Even if these things are soldered onto the board, these three here, and they might give you trouble later on, you might be able to get some new ones or something like that. We've got a couple of switches here that are latching switches from the lid. I'll probably show you quickly the lid afterwards. And we've got these sort of 3 or 4 things here, which I suspect are like the original lamps that were in the original unit. And what you had light sensing, I'll call them diodes, I don't know what they were, and these sort of bulbs that lit up and went off, controlled by the circuit, so to speak, and that gave you the effect. Well, basically, I'm not going to be technical about it because I don't know enough about it, but it was something like that. But from what I hear, this one's moved on to these sort of LED type of things with sensors built in and the rest of it. So it's sort of equivalent, but not quite exactly the same. So some people say. Notice also that up here you've got a number of adjusters, which probably relate to this sort of stuff, if that's what they are, and I think it is. I can't see anything else. You've also got a couple of chips floating around. You've got a sort of regulator type of thing over there. A few electrolytic capacitors sprinkled around. You can see them. And yeah, not much more you can say. You've got 3 LEDs, 1, 2, 3, but those are LEDs that stick out the front and tell you what's going on. But interestingly, one of the things I didn't know is you can actually put a PP3, isn't this a PP3 or a PP9? Well, in either case, it's the 9 volt one, the little square thing. You can actually drive this pedal with a battery, which I didn't know. So that's all very good. But I do think you have to, let's look at that bass. Yeah, I do think you have to pull the bottom off, this bottom here, because there's nothing on the outside where you could get to the battery. Nowhere. But it has all these little stickers on the inside. So I think you've got to take the lid off to put a battery in it, and away you go. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, there it is. I'd hate to see what would happen if one of these things failed on this extended pole. Maybe they'd sell you the components, but my guess is they won't. Or they won't have them, or it won't this, or it won't that. But listen, for £60, you cannot argue. Yeah, I might even quickly show you inside that UniVibe, the sort of difference, you know, and you can make your own mind up. But it does sound rather a bit different. But what I would say for your £60, this UniVibe here, it's awesome. Well, there you are. There's basically inside it, but you want to really see the other side. That isn't so easy to do. I'm not going to pull it all apart, just to let you have a look. It's more trouble than that. But you might just be able to see. Yeah, you can. If you take a look just inside at that, can you see that thing there? It's like a sealed unit. And inside there are some lamps and some sensors. And then you've got all these other chips. You can see some of them down there. It's quite involved inside, so it's a pretty major expense, my guess is, to build something like this. Then you've got the steel chassis and all the rest of it, and the development, and so on and so forth. So this device is not a sort of bottom end thing. The Behringer, how they've made it for £60, quite amazing. But I think if they used the sort of technology that was inside this one, well, it'd cost a different amount of money. Anyway, I'm going to put this one back together. I just wanted to show you that. Okay, this is a sort of third one I've got lying around in the studio. This was made by a company called River Rat Pedals. There that is, and I'll just whip the back off that to let you have a quick look inside that. You notice it's sort of, it's not really that dissimilar, is it? Okay, well, importantly, it's interesting to show you inside this one. In many ways, I suppose it's sort of similar to the sort of Dunlop one. And what Kid's done is he's got this sort of little piece that fits over the top. If I move that out of the way, you can actually see the sensors and the light bulb and the rest of it underneath this little, well, this little copper cover. Yeah, and that just fits on the top to keep the light out. And in the cover itself, you've got a sort of thing that holds that in place. So there it is. And there are adjusters on this one and all the rest of it. But you can see that it's taken a bit of time and effort to do that. And yeah, there it is. That's the upmarket one. I'll call it that. That comes from other designs. So the 69 Vibe, in my opinion, doesn't have the same exact thing, although it could be sort of similar. I think they use LEDs instead of what you've got here. Well, they could be LEDs. Who knows? No, it's a bulb. I can see it. So there you go. Just for completeness, I wanted to show you that. So there's a quick overview of the Behringer, yeah, 69 Vibe. And a couple of the others that are out there, of which there are many. The original one, I think, was called Shin-Ei Uni-Vibe, something like that. And like I said, they can have a sort of foot controller that can be very useful, particularly if you're playing live. And I know that Hendrix did use that pedal all the time, and he often cocked it into a certain place, a certain position, to get those tones. Yeah, it's quite amazing. Well, what about the one for this one? Or the one for that other one? Or the one for the one... Well, sadly, a lot of these pedals don't work with each other, these controller pedals. I know that one for the Dunlop cost me about £85 used, and try and find one. Oh my God, rarer than rocking horses. But on this one, you can actually go a stage further and use a cheaper one. Let me show you. Yeah, the one I've got, it's made by M Audio. You must have seen these things around. They're quite relatively cheap. I forget exactly how much. But you've got a little switch underneath that says M Audio or other. And it's a sort of stereo connector on the end that will fit straight in that foot controller there and work perfect. And I know it works perfect because I've already tried it. So one of them and one of these, and for sort of, I don't know how much that'd be, about 20 odd pounds, something like that. It's not going to be a fortune because it's a bottom end pedal. And there are others out there that may be compatible or may not be. You just have to know. But I know that this one actually is compatible. So it's a little tip. So what else can I say about this darn thing? Well, not a lot really. I think it's a pretty good device, especially for that money. And if you look at what's inside, the sort of quality of the thing, listen, it's second to none. If it said Boss on the front, you probably pay twice the price or maybe even more, who knows. But the fact is, it's not particularly inferior to any of them, I don't think. So if you want my opinion, and by the way, I did buy this, yeah, it's not sponsored in any way, is this review. No, it's totally, completely my own work and my own opinion. Yeah, you've got to remember that. So is it worth buying? Well, yes, it is. Even if you've got the remotest want to play around with a Uni-Vibe, I'd have a go with this one. It does sound quite good. It doesn't sound, to me, particularly hyper inferior to any of the others, and it's completely made of metal, which is a bit of a change for some of the Behringer stuff. You know, they've had a bad press, haven't they, Behringer? Off and on, especially with the sort of £20 pedals. I don't know how they do that. It's not for me. I don't want any of that. But this one, I have to say, as soon as I saw it, I thought, I'll order that, and we'll take a closer look, and I'm really glad I did. If you want a Uni-Vibe, you give this one a go. So what about warranty? I think they have 1 year warranty on these. I don't think you can get much else for your £60. Come on. It might have a longer warranty, but I haven't looked it up and I don't think I'll care. And yeah, warranty's so-so, isn't it? I think it's built strong enough and well enough to easily last its year and probably a lot longer, from what I can see. So what about a score? Well, I hate to say this. Well, I don't hate to say it really, but this thing, it's actually worth 10 out of 10. What do you mean, Tony? It's not quite the same as the others. Well, it isn't the same as the others. It's different technology, I suppose, than some of them out there. But you go and try and find a Uni-Vibe that is even remotely as good as this one for £60, including that tax. I think you'll be very, very hard pressed. I think it's an exceptional device for little money. Now, just before we go in there, we're going to plug it in and all the rest of it. Have a listen at the tones of it. Don't listen to me. Oh, he can't play that stuff. Well, I can't, but it doesn't really matter. It's the tones that matter. And I think this one is honestly really good. But don't forget to do that thumbs up thing. Do a subscribe. Why not? What have you got to lose? Nobody else is going to show you what I have. And, ring that bell. Ding, ding. and join the rest of them. I've got 40-odd thousand subscribers. They can't all be wrong, can they? So, that's it on this one. I've covered most of the stuff. I'm not going to waste any more time on that. You can have a listen at it. See what you think. And go and buy one. That's what I'd say. Yeah, so here's the plane. Now get out of here. This is a 69 Vibe from Behringer. You've seen inside and all the rest. It's all metal and all the rest of that. And yeah, this is a pretty awesome piece of gear, especially for the £60 that it costs. Well, today I shall be putting it through that one, through the Marshall. And it's got a master volume on it, and I'm going to use this other drive pedal as well. Well, why not? And I've got a trusty Strat. Where is it? A trusty Strat on the floor. You can see the neck, but it's the Jeff Beck one. Now, there's nothing to complain about with Jeff Beck Strats. Mark my words. Anyway, here it is. You're gonna hear it is exactly what it is. No more, no less. And for the £60, how good is this? Well, man, it could be one of the best pedals out there for anything like the money.